Okay, today I'd like to do a video on HP tuners on the Dodge MDS delete and also the GM DOD delete. So anyways, getting started here, the Dodge, you just go into engine and you would find your fuel and go on to lean fuel savings, and then MDS is right here. You would, this is already set to disabled. It would probably be enabled and you would just disable it. And then you would file and save it as MDS delete something or other. And then you would just flash the file up here, and that should be it. So as far as the Chevy goes, you would come into engine, and then you would, here, let me blow this up a little bit, go into fuel. You do the same, you'd go into fuel and go into lean fuel savings, and then your DOD, and you would disable it. Now you got to kind of watch doing this on something that still has DOD. I mean, I've seen people do it, and some people don't like it, and some people do like it because they claim that you're taking oil away from the valley pan, or not the valley cover. So realistically, you should only do this if you're um, going to delete and put the DOD delete cam in the lifters. So real quick, I'll show you how to build a tune as well on the Chevy side. Um, so if you have you just want to get more power out of your truck, the first thing you go into is fuel, and you would go into power enrich. This is usually set at 5,000 RPMs from the factory, and the enrichment timer is set for 1 second. You definitely want to put this down. You can put this at 3,000, 4,000, or leave it at 5,000 if you'd like. But you should put this to 0 because you do not want to be delaying the fuel that goes into your engine. And then you want to go into your power enrichment. So from the factory, this is set to 1.33. And I can show you how this works. So you go to tools, go to your calculator, and go 14.7, which is your stoichiometric air fuel, and then you would divide it by whatever numbers in the table, 1.2, and that equals a 12.2 air fuel. Earlier I said that factory was 1.33, so we'll just put that in real quick, show you how rich it was. So yeah, 11.0 air fuel. That's a little rich, obviously, for a factory truck. These things like anywhere from 12 air fuel to a 13.2, depending on who's dyno and who's doing all the tuning and blah, blah, blah. But I like 1.2, 12.2 puts you in the safe zone. Like I said, people like to run 13, but it all depends on the setup, if they want it rich or leaner. The alcohol I set at 1.18, which is equal to a 12.5. That's still fine, in my opinion. And then the hot throttle I set at 75. I think it's at 85 from the factory. And these numbers should be sufficient. You could raise this up a little bit to maybe 65 or 75 if you would like, but I think that should get you to where you want to be. As far as the cat goes, you can leave it on, turn it off. This is your rev limiter. You can raise this in gear. Yeah, so moving on, your DOD again, transient, flex fuel. So this flex fuel is enabled. This one does work in this vehicle. So we're going to go straight to spark, and we're going to, this has already been modified. I should have did this earlier. anyways, pretty much you need to go out and log the vehicle and see where your grams, your air mass grams per cylinder is. Um, sometimes they're real low down here, sometimes they're down here or even down here. But if you don't know where your grams a cylinder is, it's kind of like, you know, pissing in the wind. You ain't gonna know. So you need to do that first. And then usually what I do is come up where it says 20 degrees here, and then I would go down through there, and then I would just interpolate. And that would effectively add timing through the whole table here, and do the same thing over here. Just interpolate, and it would add timing, and then you're done. And then you can go to the high octane table and do the same thing. It is good to leave room in between the low and the high octane table. Um, if you're doing a turbo setup and you know how to tune and you know your fuel's right and all the stuff's fine, you can copy and paste the high octane into the low octane and make the tables exactly the same. And then this is the DOD stuff. No reason. I usually just leave this stuff alone. Just touch the low and the high octane table. And then you want to go into your torque management. And the E38 doesn't like a lot of messing around in this area. So, I mean, you really could put this up higher. Um, to 500 or 600 or whatever. I mean, obviously, if you got a blower or a cam, it's going to make more power than the factory stuff. So you play with all this stuff. But if you play with too much of this stuff, it's just going to give you a headache, and the truck's not going to shift right and into the lack of weird. So don't get too hung up on all this crap. Brake torque management, I usually disable that. Brake torque, I leave that alone. Traction control, definitely disable that. Disable that. That's going to mess with your throttle plate really bad. And then you could raise these up. The max is 6,042. You could go through here and 642 on all of these. There's no bad things about that, but like I said, the minimum you could play with, the better, because the E38s, like I said, do some weird things when you're playing with torque management. This here, I would raise to 640. And that should effectively, right there, give you what you're looking for. Supercharger, this thing does not have a supercharger on it, blah, blah, blah. Just leave all this stuff alone. Pretty much just the fuel, the spark, and a little bit of torque management. And you should be good to go. And then on the trans side, anytime I'm tuning a engine, I usually tune the transmission. So I go into the torque converter. These transmissions are known for the torque converter lining coming off of them. So I unlock the torque converter. They lock up from the factory from second gear to sixth gear. I keep them unlocked through fourth gear, and then I lock them up in fifth and sixth. Depending on what kind of vehicle it is, if it's a 6-liter and they tow with it, I might lock it up in third or second. It all depends on what you're doing with the vehicle. But if you're just daily driving the thing, it's best just to leave it unlocked and just have it lock in fifth and sixth gear, because otherwise you're just going to wear your torque converter out and you're going to wear your valve body out and have issues. So just come in here and put bit 318, and then come in here and bit 317, and that should be good. Fifth and sixth, like I said, I'm still locking it up in fifth and sixth. You don't have to touch that. Full throttle, you don't have to touch that unless you're, like I said, building a race car. This is just the basic stuff to do when you're tuning. You can go into shift pressures, upshifts, pattern X. You can raise these torque values to 2,000. That's usually what I do. 2,000. And then you can taper it just like that. Sometimes you don't want to add a bunch, because if you do, then transmission will shift weird. But if you want to come up in here, like I said, you can, raise it up if you'd like. Pattern X, it seems like, is what it's using. So, I mean, if this pattern is pattern X all the way through here and normal, through pattern X, Y, and Z. Then you would come in here and do pattern X, pattern Y, and pattern Z. And then the downshifts, I don't ever play with the downshifts because you're downshifting. There's no reason to do that unless you're base shift pressures. Yeah, upshift. Okay. So this is a shift pressures. This is in kPa. I really don't like kPa. So this is 203 psi. At that, you could raise these at 200 or just do 203. Now, just raise it up a little bit when it's in the lower torque range. Keep the clutch alive. That's all we're trying to do here. And then you could also interpolate if you would like. Yeah, it looks like I grabbed 2 rows. Back in here. Interpolate. And interpolate. And see, I screwed up. Now I want to go back because I grabbed the wrong row. So, gotta watch. Pay attention. 2, 3. Yeah, I mean, all these. Some people don't like to add much on the 3, 4 because, they claim that the clutch pack is weak. But it's like, if you're in the 3, 4 and the clutch pack is weak, you're probably going to want more pressure. So again, 203 here, same pressure as everywhere else. And then if you want to interpolate, you can. 2, 3, same thing. These can all go to 200 on the PSI scale. And interpolate. And just go through there. The 1, 4, 2, 4, 2, 6, 3, 5, 4, 6. Don't worry about those. Just the 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, 5, 6. Don't mess with the other ones. So if you're coming through here, you'd only do the rest of these. Like I said, 203 is what you're going to want. I think it's silly to run less pressure. The key is to keep the clutch pack alive. I build transmissions for a living, so I kind of know a little bit about transmissions. Okay, so you do the same thing. X, Y, and Z. And then adaptive, oncoming, you can raise these, but I don't think that it's necessary to mess with these ones. I think you can come down here to the oncoming and the offgoing and go through, 1, 2 to 5, 6, 1, 2 to 5, 6, and just raise it up a little bit. So we could do like, this is kPa again. This is PSI. So let's see, what do we want to do here? 1, 2, 20%. Let's go like 1.20. Yeah, so 1.20. Raise it up a little bit. %. And then do the same thing down here. And effectively, you got a transmission that shifts nice. Depending on what it is, I will turn the adaptive shift off. So this is kind of dumb here. I don't know why this is set for whatever, but well, I guess we don't really need that kind of line pressure down low. Just go 203. And then we can interpolate. Max clutch pressure, this is PSI again. I like to work in PSI, that's fine. 217 should be sufficient. Let's see. Oh, adaptive. So sometimes I will turn the adaptive shift, upshift adapts disabled. Because what happens is you go out and drive this thing and it'll drive really nice. And the customer will drive it for like a month. And then the thing will be back and it'll be like, oh, it kind of shifts kind of smooth, you know. So you can do that, but just be aware that you can break parts by doing that.